Hello, and welcome to HTM on the Line, the show that is for HTM by HTM. I'm Bryant Hawkins Sr. On today's episode, we will be talking about the recruiting world of healthcare technology management. Our guest today is Glenn Garret. He is a recruiter in the HTM industry with over 20 plus years of experience, with a passion for placing HTM professionals in a position to be successful. Welcome to HTM on the Line. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing great, Bryant. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, sir. Glenn, you are the first guest to be on HTM on the Line podcast. You are making history today. Thanks again for sharing some time with me to discuss such an important topic. Before we get into discussing the recruiting world of HTM, tell us about yourself, if you don't mind.
All right. Before I tell you a little bit about myself, I wanted to say thank you, and I am honored to be the first guest on your podcast. I know this is something that you've been working on for a while, and I definitely appreciate you inviting me to come out. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in a small town of Huntington, West Virginia. Shortly thereafter I graduated high school, I joined the Marine Corps. I made this decision because at that point in my life, I needed a little bit of discipline. And I also wanted to get the GI Bill to put me through college. What I thought was going to be a 4-year tour of duty lasted over 20 years. Fortunately for me, I was able to get the discipline I was looking for, and I was also able to get my bachelor's and my master's degree. I started my career in the military as a cook, and within 2 years, I transitioned to what was called an enlisted aide. In this position, I was the personal cook for a general officer and his family at his home. I then spent the next 6 years as a maintenance chief, and my last 10 years in the military, I was in recruiting. While in the recruiting field, I held positions such as recruiter, recruiting manager, recruiter instructor, regional director of recruiting, and also the national director of talent acquisition. Shortly after retiring from the military, I got a job as a talent acquisition specialist with TriMedics. It was there that my coworkers taught me about the HTM industry. Before working there, I didn't even know what a biomedical equipment technician or an imaging service engineer was. My first week on the job, my manager, Todd Rogers, he gave me a book written by Dr. Roger Bowles, who was the department chair at Texas State Technical College in Waco. That's how I got my crash course in learning the industry. After I left TriMedics, I worked at Crothville Healthcare as a senior recruiter for just over 4 years. Last summer, I resigned from Crothville and accepted a job as a talent acquisition manager with the Intermediate Group, and that's what I do today.
So you began your career in the military. What made you get into the talent acquisition profession for HTM?
So once I retired, I had a friend who worked over at TriMedics and MedExcel, which is a sister company of TriMedics. And he told me about the HCM field. I didn't know anything about it whatsoever. He kind of got me in the door. And once I was there, I learned what was going on. And I found out that I had a passion for helping people, not only find jobs, but helping them with, just career advice and things like that. So I kind of got into the profession because I like the interaction with people. I'm truly passionate about what I do. I enjoy taking the candidates through the hiring process. While I do enjoy all aspects of my job, I find great joy in the daily interaction with these candidates. I love to uncover their needs, their wants, and align them with a position that fits their skill set. I always let my candidates know that if I can't help them out with the company I'm currently working at, I will help them find an organization that can.
Where does an HTM recruiter, as yourself, find candidates?
So a lot of the candidates I find, they will apply directly to our company website. We also have LinkedIn. There's Indeed. There's different Facebook groups, networking at industry events such as MD Expo, AMI, the Imaging Conference and Expo, the local biomed groups. A lot of colleges and universities would like to get referrals from our current employees, and sometimes I'll have to reach out to third-party recruiters for assistance filling those hard positions.
Speaking about filling hard positions, what are the things recruiters look at when going through job applications?
So just looking through the application itself, we also look at the resume. Obviously, we're looking for positives and negatives, both on a on the application or the resume. We're looking at their education, if they have the qualification for the position. We're looking to see what type of experience they have. Have they worked in a hospital before, or are they field service based, or what have they done? But we also look and see at some of the negative stuff. How long a candidate say that each employer. We don't like to see an employer who bounces around every 6 months to a year and has had several jobs under their belt.
Thanks. That's 2022, Glenn. Do you think it's important for HTM recruiters to be social media savvy? If so, why?
I'll say definitely yes to that question. A lot of jobs now, if you don't have a good brand on the company that you're representing, they will go to like Indeed, LinkedIn. They'll actually go to the hospital website as well. A lot of times they don't know who the independent service organizations are. They'll know of a hospital itself. Like, for instance, I know that or we'll say that, there's people who could be part of Advent Health. They may not know that Crothel is in there managing the biomed program. So they may go to these Facebook groups or these LinkedIn groups to see where these positions are. So you got to know what's going on, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, all those different platforms. You have to know those things because that's where your candidates in your pool is going to be at.
Now, I'm not too good with Twitter, but I've been pretty good with LinkedIn the last 3 months. What are some recruiting challenges you may face as an HTM recruiter?
So as an HTM recruiter, HTM is their niche jobs. There's a lot of people don't even know about the industry itself. One of the questions I always ask a candidate, during the interview process is how do they find out about HTM? What made them want to be a biomed? What made them? And there's always a unique story. It's rare that I ever come around someone say it's because my dad did. It's because my dad did it. Now, you may be a little bit different, but that story is not the same for everyone. A lot of times they're sitting there with their college advisor and they will guide them in that direction, or they could have had been in the hospital with a loved one or something like that. And they said, hey, who fixes this type of equipment? And they may learn that way. But some of the challenges, I would say, just attracting the right candidates. We have a lot of people that apply for these positions, but they don't meet the qualifications. And then we have trouble engaging the qualified candidates. So we're doing a lot of looking at a lot of passive candidates. And what I mean by passive candidates, they're not currently looking for positions. So we'll gauge them because we know they're qualified, but they may be in a position where they're not really ready to leave. Another thing is like just creating an efficient recruiting process. If the recruiting process is broke, then you're not going to be able to attract good talent. And what I mean by broke is that if you have a recruiting process that's going to take, 4 to 6 weeks to hire in an entry-level biomed, that's not a good recruiting process to have. And I know a lot of times hiring managers will get, kind of bogged down with other things and stuff like that, but we got to let the candidate know and make sure that they have a good candidate experience.
Right. That's a lot of challenges you have to face. And one thing I can say about recruiters, especially in the HTM field, you have to know 5 to 10 positions, and you don't even do this for a living, but you have to be knowledgeable about imaging engineers, biomed techs, unit directors. I mean, you have to be familiar with all these positions when you're trying to find that candidate. So I think that's a hats off to you as a recruiter because you have to do your homework.
Yeah, one thing you'll learn once you've been in the industry for a while, you have to learn the difference between what biomed is and what imaging is. And I always tell everyone, especially if it's a non-technician role, say I'm hiring an admin or a clinical engineering coordinator or something like that. They ask me, what does the biomed do or what do we do? I'll tell them that basically if it plugs into a wall at a hospital, we can fix it. And I'll tell them anywhere from biomeds fix anywhere from infusion pumps to anesthesia equipment, ventilators, to defibrillators, just a little bit of everything. And I was like, the difference between them and imaging, tell them that the imaging, it takes a picture of you. So if it's MR, CT, X-ray, portables, nuke med, all those things take picture of you. So that's why it's considered imaging.
Are you familiar with the term the Great Resignation? And if so, how have this affected your capabilities of doing your job as an HTM recruiter?
I would say absolutely 100%. It has definitely affected. You kind of notice a big change. Well, let's back up real quick. So it's from what I understand, the Great Resignation. It was an ongoing trend that started in probably beginning of 2020, 2021, and this phenomenon where employees were just voluntarily just resigning from their positions, and some of them didn't have jobs, and they were just doing this at record numbers. Not sure what the science was behind it. I know a lot of it did have to do with COVID. There was also some other things that was going on. I'll say, I won't say specifically what, my personal opinion on it, but we'll just say that COVID was a big factor in this. And so even now today, when I say COVID, there's a lot of organizations, hospitals specifically, and we are in the healthcare business that require our candidates or employees to have that COVID vaccine. And there's a lot of employees or candidates that are not willing to get that vaccine, which means they are no longer in this industry anymore unless they're able to do a job remotely or something like that.
Let's change the scenario a little bit. Right now, with this Great Resignation, a lot of people have been leaving the jobs. But now we sort of have a war for talent going on right now. There is hundreds of HTM jobs available across various platforms. How do you set yourself apart from the rest of the recruiters out there drawing talent to your job openings that you post?
So I try to connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn. That's one of I probably have over 10,000 followers on LinkedIn, maybe a little bit more than that. In addition to that, I will reach out to the local biomed groups, the biomed chapters, whether it's Florida Biomed, North Carolina Biomed Association, the Clinical Engineering Association of Illinois. There's a lot of different groups out there across the nation that I connect with as well. Get referrals from not only our internal employees, but I also get referrals from some of our competitors as well. Just, people that I've worked with in the past that they feel that I did a good job working for them, that I would be good to get them to get one of their friends or a coworker a job as well. We also have connections with the DoD Biomed School, people that are transitioning out of the military. They routinely will reach out to me as well. So one of the things that I put a lot of time into was kind of building my network. And now that the network is there, it's kind of working for me, if that makes sense.
Maybe I shouldn't have asked you that question. You just shared a lot of knowledge just now, man.
But the thing is, I don't think there should really be any secrets in recruiting when it comes to this industry, because it is definitely hard and it is very challenging out there to find qualified candidates who want to come and work for you. So that's why I say I will help anyone, whether I will help someone get a job with a competitor, especially if I cannot help them out.
That's a great answer, sir. That's the whole purpose of this podcast, for HTM by HTM. Now, let me ask you another question. Is there a difference between a headhunter and a recruiter?
Yes. So as far as a recruiter, whether they work for one of the independent service organizations or if they work for one of the OEMs, whether it be GE, Siemens, Philips, a recruiter works specifically for that organization, and they are going to fill the positions that are open within that organization, whether it be a ISE or a BMed or maybe even an electronics technician or a bed technician, a dialysis tech, whatever it is, that recruiter is going to recruit there. Now, someone with a headhunter, a headhunter or even a recruiting firm, headhunter is going to reach out to, say, an organization like that I'm part of or that you're part of, and they will say, hey, we're looking specifically for this person and this person only, this type of person or this position, whether it be in what's called an RVP or maybe a clinical engineering director, whatever it may be, and they're looking specifically for that position.
Now, what if we have an HTM professional who seeks out a recruiter or headhunter? What are some signs that a recruiter or headhunter is not good for the candidate?
So if I am a candidate, an HTM candidate, looking for a position, and I come to the recruiter or headhunter, whoever I'm talking to, and I say, hey, I'm looking for a job in Chicago, Illinois. Being at two position, I have 5 to 7 years. I'm looking to make 60 to 70,000 a year, and they come back to me and say, hey, I have an opening in Wichita, Kansas, or they try to offer me all these things that I am not trying to do. It means that they didn't listen to me as the candidate of my needs, my wants, my desires, or what I wanted to do for myself in my career. And they're just trying to throw me at anything and see if it sticks. So that would be a big telltale sign if a recruiter is not good for you.
Great answer. What advice would you give someone who wants to pursue a career as a recruiter in HTM?
So the biggest advice is that you definitely have to learn the industry. Recruiting is going to be recruiting. However, in this market, in the HTM market, it is definitely more challenging than some of the other things that I've done in my career. They should learn the business, learn the industry. They should probably connect with a recruiter who's been there and done that, who's been in the organization, and kind of align themselves with them, maybe ask them to mentor them, to help bring them up until they can get them in a position, because a lot of times people don't stick it once they're in this field. A lot of recruiters don't stick. I'm one of the ones that's been around for, I'll say, 7+ years. You do have some of the third-party recruiters who've been around for 30+ years, and I'll give out to a shout out to Jamie Sova, Jennifer Brown, and Stevens International. They've been around for a long time, and I often seek out them for assistance as well.
So networking is probably one of the strongest assets to being a successful recruiter, you would say?
Yes.
So Glenn, in closing, do you have any advice or experience you can share with the candidate, the hiring manager, and the recruiter?
Yes. So speaking directly to recruiters, just make sure make sure you're taking care of the candidates through the process. If a hiring manager can't interview them till next week or 2 weeks from now, be transparent with that candidate, because they're definitely going to appreciate that. And also recruiters, if you decline a candidate after an interview, the hiring manager decides that they do not want them, make sure you give that candidate a courtesy phone call to let them know and give them feedback on what they did wrong or what they could have done better. I know a lot of times the hiring manager don't like to give that information, but press your hiring managers for that information, because those are phone calls that I didn't like making, and I still don't like to make them. But what I have found is that candidates are definitely they're thankful that I make that phone call. And 99% of the time, they always say, hey, you're the first recruiter that's ever called me and told me that I didn't get the job. Most of the time, they get a auto-generated email saying thanks, but no thanks. Hiring managers, what I would recommend to you is that keep the process moving. Recruiters are out there, I'll say, busting their tail to get qualified candidates in the door. So we don't want, once they get in, once we get the interview process going, we don't want it to be slowed up at all. So we like to, get in and want it to be a kind of a good process for everyone involved.
Thank you very much, sir. Glenn, I appreciate your passion, and it was definitely displayed in the way you answered the questions we discussed. I wish you nothing but success in all your future endeavors, and I applaud you, sir.
And Brian, I thank you again, and thank you again for your time and allowing me to be in your podcast today.
Hopefully this episode gave you some insight into the day-to-day life of a recruiter in the HTM industry. My next podcast episode will be one I'm looking forward to. It's entitled, How to Create Impact as a Female Leader in HTM. I have 2 female leaders in the HTM industry who will share their experiences working in a male-dominated industry. This podcast you don't want to miss. It will premiere May 16, 2022, which is also the beginning of HTM Week, one of the biggest weeks in the HTM industry. As always, I will end each podcast with a motivating quote. If you try and fail, congratulations. Most people won't even try. Until next time, be safe out there and try to make someone smile today.